Welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. Today we're answering a viewer question from Jen McGregor. Jen had a lot of questions about deal announcements and what they are, where they're posted, what is the weird wording, all of that. So we decided to do a breakdown of everything you need to know about deal announcements, the who, what, when, where, why, how, all of that. And we're actually going to use that because we're kind of winging this one. We're going to use those questions to guide our videos. So let's start with the what. What is a deal announcement?
Yeah, I mean, a deal announcement is basically the announcement, usually through a trade, something, the website, the magazine, whatever, the trade papers of publishing is what we consider when we say deal announcement. It's not the announcement the author makes on social media or anything like that. It's usually announcing to the trade. And that's where editors, publishers, agents, authors can see it, and also booksellers and subrights people. So we will get, when a deal announcement is made, we will hear from film people who are interested, foreign rights people will follow it. So anybody that's sort of book adjacent that will use the book to expand what they're doing follows the deal announcements.
Yeah. So the deal announcement itself will outline a few standard things. So we'll outline the author. If it's something that has an illustrator, it will also outline the illustrator. It will give a title, a tentative title at the time of announcing, because they could always change, and also a brief description. It's not the full plot summary. It's not the cover copy.
Such a brief description.
Like 1 or 2 sentences, probably max. And it's just top level, like what the book is about.
And one thing, and the genre.
Genre, yeah.
That?
And it
One
also
thing,
will, sorry, just to quickly say, it will also
yeah.
give editor, publisher, and imprint, and then agents and agencies.
Yep.
So
And
all of the folks involved.
One thing to note about the pitch of the book or the blurb of the book in the deal announcement, when James said it's short, it's very, very short, and sometimes even shortened by the people who run the trade, right? They want a certain something to the deal announcements. They have certain requirements. So it really isn't meant to be a pitch of the book. It's 1 or 2 sentences tops.
Right. And again, I think it's important to know, so maybe we'll jump to the why. Like, why are we doing deal announcements? Deal announcements are not to pitch the book and win readers. They're not for readers. Deal announcements, at least in the publishing industry, the goal of them is to tell the world that this book is coming and to solicit that subright's interest. So a lot of times we'll want to hold those deal announcements until the book might be ready so that we can announce it, get those subright interest emails, and send the book out and try and get translation deals, try and get film interest, try and get, if we hold audio, try and get an audio publisher interested. Like Jessica said, maybe booksellers are reading that to get that on their radar. So for the authors, it feels like I can finally talk about my book. And I don't want to diminish that, because that is definitely something that I know I try to do for all of my authors, try and get it announced as soon as possible so that you don't have to keep this exciting thing inside. But it is also a strategic tool that we're using to build and create buzz and excitement for your book as well.
Yeah, and on a personal note, it's something agents and editors use to build their own profiles in the business. So we use deal announcements, for example, when we are going out on submission to see what editors are buying. I mean, even though we talk with them regularly, it's good to get a sense of, for me, I always have to look through deal announcements. It's always a refresher. It's always to say, like, let me see the last couple books these editors have bought and things like that. And for agents, it also builds that same sort of profile with editors, like, oh, I see, I really like everything I've seen that agent sell. Let me make sure I read everything they send quickly and things like that. So,
and also for authors too. Like, you'll see them and know a little bit about what we're selling, who we're selling to. So they're also helpful for you about like what it is that we're doing, what our list looks like.
Yep.
Okay, where? So Jessica mentioned trade reviews. There are 2 main places where where deal announcements are posted. That's Publishers Marketplace, which we've talked about a ton on the channel. That's like the publishing industry's database for all the sales, job moves.
Most of the sales.
Job moves, people, emails, things like that. Hopefully, most sales are being reported there so that you can see what's being sold, who's buying what. And that's where most of the industry is going to look for, hey, I saw this. Are the film rights available? Or, hey, I saw you have translation rights. Is Italian translation available? Like a lot of it is happening there. That's where we're posting it. There's also Publishers Weekly, which is the magazine, and also newsletters and online brand that will post, not all. So Publishers Marketplace will post, I think, any deal we submit to them. But Publishers Weekly is more of a selective,
very selective.
Particularly on the adult side. So on the Kindle side, they have their newsletter. And I do think almost everything we submit to them, sequels don't get announced, but most deal announcements will run in their newsletter at some point. But on the adult side, it's far more selective.
Really selective. So
it's like 6 an issue or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
There are also some publishers that will announce on their website. Like I know Tor and Tor.com often, and I think Orbit as well, will often announce their deals on their website. I think in their case, it's specifically like fantasy because that's what they do, but also they have an online community that comes to their website frequently. So they will post there. And then you'll see authors usually take the announcements that are in Publishers Weekly, Publishers Marketplace, or even on the publisher's website and post in their social medias, their newsletters, their website. I do want to say too that these are just for the US. So I know in the UK there's it's a bookseller. Bookseller will do it, and I'm sure in Canada there are different ones as well. So not every deal outside of the States will be announced on those databases. So who submits them? This depends. I think a lot of times it's the agent. When there's an author and an illustrator, whoever gets to it first, kind of like a lot of times as an illustrator agent, I will start the conversation because I'll know that the illustrator's contract is done, and then I'll alert the team like, hey, can we announce? But sometimes I'm beaten to the punch. And then there are also times when the publisher might say, let's announce this, or we can handle the announcement. I will say that's probably rarer than the agent doing it, but there are cases where the publisher will handle the announcement.
Either way, the publishing team announces it.
Yes, the authors don't.
The announcement can be done at any time. So sometimes they're done right after the deal is verbally agreed to, before the contract is even signed. Sometimes we might have subrights, things that we're negotiating, so we want to hold off until we can do a full package. Sometimes the publisher wants to hold off because it's a book they want to sort of keep a little secret, and an idea they want to keep secret, and they want to wait till closer to the pub date. Sometimes I've had publishers, or some publishers, who really prefer to have the title they're going to publish under before announcing, because that helps them, right? When booksellers see it, when readers see it, they know exactly what they're looking for. So when it's announced as a conversation between the agent and the publisher and is somewhat decided on that, certainly you can ask your agent when we're going to announce, and that can happen, but that's part of it too. Yes.
There's one question about in Jen's list that I did want to touch on. Why the weird wording? So on Publishers Marketplace, they'll say things like in a good deal, in a nice deal. Publishers Marketplace has a key on their website for how sales are labeled. Nice, good, very nice, major.
It means a price range. Exactly. So it's sold for between such and such and such and such is a such and such deal. Exactly. So that people don't, because nobody's going to want to list the exact advance amount. But so giving it a range helps sort of build excitement in the community for bigger deals and things like that.
Yeah, there are also a few other things we'll note. So sometimes we'll note if it's an exclusive submission, if we sent it only to that publisher. We will note when it's at auction, typically. And we will note when it's what we call a preempt, which is when the publisher will make an offer that takes the book off the table for other publishers. We'll note those 3 things. And I'm sure there are other things that I'm probably missing, but those are the 3 main ones that you might see and have questions about. But we will kind of qualify the deal, because that can also drive excitement and buzz. So we will do those sorts of things just to give a bit more information about how the book was sold.
Right.
But I think that's everything.
That's everything.
Yeah. So now you know what deal announcements are. Now you know what all that funny language is about. And hopefully now you know how to use them for yourself too. So don't forget to like and subscribe. If there's anything else like deal announcements that you want us to do an all about video on, put it in the comments below and we will definitely try to get to that. But otherwise, we'll see you back here next week.
Bye.